Ladies and gentlemen, in a world brimming with constant noise, be it chatter, notifications, or the ceaseless demands of modern life, silence is a rare and undervalued treasure. Yet, silence holds immense power. It is not an absence, but a presence, a deliberate choice, a profound force that shapes our lives in ways we often fail to recognize. When we embrace silence, we create space to listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. This clarity is essential. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to confront what they would rather ignore. In the quiet, we meet our fears, our desires, and the truths we bury under the noise. It is in this space that we can discern what truly matters and recalibrate our priorities. In the midst of the chaos that surrounds us every day, emails demanding immediate attention, conversations overlapping, and the constant buzz of social media, silence stands as an unassuming yet profound force. It is in silence that we find the clarity we so desperately seek but seldom make time to embrace. This is the silence that we face time to embrace. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of perspective, the stillness where truth emerges from the clutter of distractions. When we allow ourselves to step into silence, we are confronted with a rare opportunity to listen deeply, not to the world, but to ourselves. This can be unsettling for many. The noise of life often serves as a convenient shield, protecting us from confronting our own thoughts, emotions, and fears. When the distractions fade away, what remains is the unfiltered version of who we are. And while this can be intimidating, it is also liberating. In a world that glorifies constant activity and relentless productivity, silence can feel counterintuitive, even indulgent. But the reality is that silence is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the foundation upon which we build clarity of thought, depth of understanding, and meaningful action. By embracing silence, we reclaim the ability to navigate life with purpose and intention, unclouded by the noise that seeks to distract us. To step into silence is to step into power. The power to see clearly, to think deeply, and to act wisely. In silence, we do not retreat from the world, we prepare to engage with it more fully, more authentically, and with the clarity that only stillness can provide. Think about the moments when you feel provoked, cornered, or pressured to respond. The urge to speak, to defend, or to retaliate can be overwhelming. Yet, the ability to hold back, to remain silent in such moments, is a sign of mastery over oneself. Silence in the face of chaos is not weakness, it is restraint, and restraint is power. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that equates activity with productivity and busyness with achievement. Yet silence holds an extraordinary potential for personal growth. It is not simply the absence of noise or action. It is the presence of a space where introspection, transformation, and profound learning can take place. In silence, we face the truths we often avoid and uncover parts of ourselves that remain hidden amidst the clamor of daily life. When we step into silence, we create a sanctuary for self-reflection. But growth requires discomfort. It is in those quiet moments, when we strip away distractions, that we begin to understand ourselves on a deeper level. Through silence, we gain the clarity to examine our choices and behaviors. How often do we move through life on autopilot, reacting to situations without stopping to consider why we act the way we do? In silence, we can question our patterns and uncover the motivations behind our actions. Why do certain things trigger us? Why do we pursue some goals while neglecting others? These are questions that cannot be answered in haste. They require the stillness that allows introspection to unfold naturally. Silence also nurtures creativity and problem solving. When our minds are bombarded with noise, our ability to think freely and explore new ideas is diminished. In contrast, silence provides the mental space needed for creativity to flourish. Many of the greatest innovations, works of art, and scientific breakthroughs have emerged from moments of deep solitude. In silence, the mind is free to wander, to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas, and to imagine possibilities that might otherwise remain obscured. Furthermore, silence teaches us the value of patience. Growth is not something that happens overnight. It is a gradual process that requires time and persistence. Silence mirrors this process. When we allow ourselves to sit in stillness, we learn to appreciate the slow unfolding of our own development. We come to understand that rushing through life in search of quick fixes or immediate results often leads to shallow progress. True growth comes from the steady, deliberate work of self-examination and reflection. Silence also strengthens our emotional resilience. Life is filled with challenges, many of which evoke strong emotions: anger, sadness, frustration, or fear. When we lack the ability to sit with these emotions in silence, we risk being controlled by them. Silence gives us the opportunity to process our feelings without judgment or distraction. It allows us to acknowledge what we're experiencing, to understand the root of those emotions, and to respond in a thoughtful way rather than reacting impulsively. Over time, this practice builds emotional strength and equips us to handle difficulties with greater composure. The universe is counting on us. In silence, we develop a deeper connection with ourselves. In the noise of everyday life, it's easy to lose touch with who we are and what we truly value. Silence offers us the chance to realign with our core principles and rediscover what is meaningful to us. This self-connection is essential for growth because it serves as the foundation upon which we build our goals, relationships, and sense of purpose. Beyond personal development, silence also enhances our relationships with others. When we take the time to grow through silence, we bring a more grounded and self-awareness version of ourselves into our interactions. This creates space for deeper, more authentic connections. We become better listeners, more empathetic, and more present. These qualities not only enrich our relationships, but also contribute to our own growth as individuals. Ultimately, silence is not a void to be filled, but a vessel to be embraced. It is in the stillness that we discover the strength to confront our truths, the creativity to envision new possibilities, and the patience to nurture our growth. Silence invites us to slow down, to listen, and to become more intentional in the way we live. In doing so, it opens the door to a transformation that is as profound as it is enduring. There is an uncomfortable truth. Silence forces us to face ourselves. It is in those quiet moments, when there are no distractions to shield us, that we come to terms with who we are. This process of self-confrontation is not easy. It requires courage, but through it we grow. Silence becomes the soil where self-awareness takes root and flourishes into wisdom. In relationships, silence is often misunderstood. Many people associate silence with disconnection, discomfort, or even conflict, but silence can hold immense power in fostering deeper, more meaningful connections. It is not merely the absence of words. It is the presence of understanding, patience, and attentiveness. Silence, when embraced intentionally, becomes a language of its own. one that speaks volumes about respect, trust, and love. At its core, silence allows for true listening. Most of us enter conversations with the intent to reply rather than to understand. We listen to respond, not to absorb what the other person is truly expressing. Silence changes this dynamic. It creates the space needed to listen fully and attentively. When we are silent, we stop formulating our next response and instead focus entirely on the words, emotions, and intentions of the person speaking. This level of presence communicates something profound. I value what you have to say, and I am here to understand, not just to be heard. Silence also gives people the room to express themselves without interruption. Too often, conversations are dominated by a back and forth exchange that leaves little space for one person to fully articulate their thoughts. By allowing moments of quiet after someone speaks, we give them the chance to elaborate, to dig deeper into what they are feeling or thinking. This not only fosters better communication, but also builds trust. When someone feels truly heard, they are more likely to open up, creating a stronger foundation for the relationship. In times of conflict, silence can be a stabilizing force. When emotions run high, the impulse to react quickly and defensively can escalate tensions. Words spoken in anger or frustration often cause more harm than good, leaving wounds that can be difficult to heal. Silence, however, allows us to pause and reflect before responding. It gives us a moment to process our emotions, to consider the other person's perspective, and to choose our words carefully. This restraint prevents unnecessary harm and keeps the focus on resolving the issue rather than exacerbating it. Silence also provides a space for understanding and acceptance. Not every moment in a relationship requires words. Sometimes simply being present with someone in their moment of joy, sorrow, or uncertainty is enough. Sitting in silence together can convey a sense of solidarity and support that words might struggle to capture. It shows that you don't need to fill every quiet moment with conversation to feel connected. Your presence alone is meaningful. Moreover, silence can serve as a tool for reflection within a relationship. In the absence of constant dialogue, we gain the opportunity to think about the dynamics of the relationship, our own behaviors, and the needs of the other person. Silence creates the space to evaluate how we are contributing to the relationship and where we can grow. It encourages introspection and allows us to approach the relationship with greater mindfulness and intention. In romantic relationships, silence often carries an additional layer of intimacy. The ability to sit with a partner in comfortable silence reflects a deep level of trust and connection. It signals that the relationship has moved beyond the need for constant affirmation or validation through words. Instead, there is a mutual understanding that transcends language, a sense of closeness that is felt rather than spoken. These moments of quiet intimacy can be some of the most meaningful in a relationship, as they represent a bond that does not rely on performance or effort, but simply exists. Silence also teaches us patience in relationships. Not every thought or feeling needs to be expressed immediately. There are times when silence allows us to process our emotions before sharing them, leading to more thoughtful and constructive communication. It reminds us that relationships are not about winning arguments or proving points, but about nurturing a connection that grows through understanding and care. In many ways, silence is an act of humility in a relationship. It requires us to set aside our ego, to resist the urge to dominate the conversation, and to prioritize the other person's needs and feelings. This humility fosters a sense of equality and respect within the relationship, strengthening the bond between individuals. Ultimately, silence in relationships is not about avoidance or withdrawal. It is an active choice to create space for listening, understanding, and connection. It is a tool that, when used intentionally, enhances communication, deepens intimacy, and strengthens the foundation of trust. In a world that often prioritizes noise and constant interaction, the quiet moments shared between people can become the most powerful expressions of love and care. Silence, then, is not the absence of connection, but one of its most profound forms. It struck me, in a world filled with constant noise and relentless activity, silence can feel like an anomaly, an unnatural state in a society that equates busyness with purpose and sound with progress. Yet silence is one of the most potent tools we have to combat chaos. It is not a passive withdrawal from the world, but an active choice to create space for focus, calm, and clarity in the face of disorder. Silence allows us to reclaim control over our environment and our minds. Chaos, whether external or internal, thrives on distraction. It feeds on the incessant noise that pulls our attention in countless directions, leaving us scattered and overwhelmed. By choosing silence, we disrupt that cycle. We step back from the noise and regain our ability to think clearly and deliberately. So, silence offers a refuge, a momentary pause that shields us from the turbulence around us and allows us to gather our thoughts. In moments of crisis or confusion, silence becomes a powerful stabilizing force. When everything around us feels chaotic, our instinct is often to act quickly, to do something, anything that might restore order. But hasty actions taken in the heat of the moment often lead to more confusion. Silence, on the other hand, gives us the time to assess the situation calmly. It allows us to observe without reacting, to process what is happening, and to make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. This kind of measured response is far more effective in addressing chaos than impulsive reactions. Silence also provides a space for reflection and problem solving. When we are caught up in chaos, our minds can become clouded by the sheer volume of competing demands and stimuli. It becomes difficult to prioritize, to see the bigger picture, or to find creative solutions to the challenges we face. In silence, the noise subsides and our mental clarity is restored. We can focus on what truly matters, identify the root causes of the chaos, and approach problems with a fresh perspective. Furthermore, silence serves as a form of resistance against the external forces that seek to control our attention. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information. News headlines, advertisements, social media updates, all designed to capture and hold our focus. This relentless influx of noise can feel overwhelming, even paralyzing, as we struggle to process it all. Choosing silence is a way of reclaiming our autonomy. It is a refusal to be swept away by the tide of distraction, and an affirmation of our ability to set boundaries and protect our mental space. And what silence is not only a personal tool, but also a powerful statement in group dynamics. In chaotic discussions or heated arguments, silence can command attention in a way that words often cannot. When others are shouting to be heard, the person who remains silent stands out. Their restraint signals confidence and control, creating a sense of gravity that draws people in. This deliberate use of silence can diffuse tension, shift the tone of a conversation, and create the space needed for more constructive dialogue. In our personal lives, silence is equally effective at combating the chaos of our own minds. We all experience moments when our thoughts spiral out of control, creating an internal noise that mirrors the external chaos around us. Anxiety, overthinking, and self-doubt can make it difficult to find peace. Silence is the antidote. By sitting quietly with ourselves, we can observe our thoughts without judgment, allowing them to pass rather than clinging to them. This practice, often associated with mindfulness or meditation, helps us develop a sense of inner calm that persists even in the midst of external turmoil. Silence also teaches us the power of restraint. In chaotic situations, the urge to speak or act impulsively can be strong. We feel the need to fill the void, to impose order on the disorder. But silence reminds us that not every moment requires action or words. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. By choosing to remain silent, we conserve our energy, protect our focus, and avoid adding unnecessary noise to an already chaotic situation. Importantly, silence is not about avoidance or withdrawal. It is about creating a deliberate pause, a moment to regroup, to center ourselves, and to prepare for thoughtful action. In this sense, silence is not an escape from chaos, but a strategy for confronting it. It gives us the strength to face challenges with clarity, composure, and purpose, rather than being overwhelmed by them. Ultimately, silence is a weapon against chaos, because it allows us to take control of our inner and outer worlds. It is a tool for reclaiming focus, fostering clarity, and cultivating resilience. In a world that constantly demands our attention and energy, silence is a reminder that we have the power to choose stillness, to create order amidst disorder, and to find peace in the face of chaos. It is not the absence of action, but the foundation for meaningful and effective engagement with the world around us. Substitute for clarity, for complexity, for love, for happiness, for joy. Because in the next time the world around you grows unbearably loud, I challenge you to embrace the quiet, withdraw, reflect, and reclaim the power that lies in the spaces between the words. Because in silence, you do not merely retreat, you rise above. Thank you.